Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a video that a lot of people are interested in, but it seems like everybody and their grandma has a video about this, but I'm going to show you my take on it. I'm going to tell you what I think you should have for long-term food storage or emergency food. This is just what I do for my family. Now, every family situation is different depending on your needs, but I'm going to show you some basics of what you can do for your family to have a food storage. And I'm not talking about serious prepper, okay? I'm not a serious prepper. I don't consider myself a prepper, but I do want to be prepared for my family in case something happens to where we cannot access or go get food right away or water. So I'm going to show you what I have here, how I store them, my tips and tricks that I've learned over the years. It's not an exhaustive list. And once again, I'm not a serious prepper, so I know people are going to get on here and say, that's not a good enough list. This is just for the food, for my family, what I store. I'm going to show you how I store it and the different ways to store it. And you may not do it the same way as me, that's fine. But as long as you take the initiative and have an emergency food supply or long-term storage food for your family in case emergency happens. So let's get to it. All right, guys, this light is super bright, but it was really dim in here. It's a dreary, dark day, so bear with me because it's killing my eyes. So long-term food storage for me and my family, I store in glass jars, okay? Now, there's pros and cons to each way how you store your food. Now, you can store your food in glass jars or 5-gallon buckets with gamma lids that have Mylar bags inside, and sometimes people just store inside the buckets without the bags. It is personal preference. Whatever you can afford, whatever you can do. Now, I haven't really priced the 5-gallon buckets with the gamma lids and the Mylar bags, but the last time I did, they were very expensive. So this is the route that I've chosen for my family that I think is best for me at the time. In the future, that's not to say that I won't change. But for right now, this is how I store food for my family. So I get these 1/2-gallon jars. You can buy these anywhere that they sell canning jars. Most of the time they have the 1/2-gallon jars. Now for a 6-pack of these jars, because it is sold in a 6-pack, I think it was $14 to $17. Don't quote me on it. It's been a while since I bought them. Price has probably changed with inflation and everything that's going on. But here's the jar before anything's in it, and it is a 1/2-gallon. A lot of people use these to make sourdough starters or other things like that, drinks, things like that. But I use them for my storage. Now you can see here that I have rice. Okay, the rice, the first thing on my list is rice. Rice is a great store because it will keep for a really, really, really long time. And you don't have to worry about it spoiling. And remember, anything that you use in the jars cannot spoil. You can't put high fat, high oil foods inside there and expect them not to spoil, because they will spoil. But rice is a really good thing to have in your storage. Now, I have multiple of these. I probably have about 12 of these to feed my family for an emergency situation or long-term storage, however you want to coin the term. But I buy my rice in bulk from Sam's. Now, I have a mixture of rice. I have just regular long grain rice. I have basmati rice. I have jasmine rice. I have multiple of each. I don't just do one. I buy whatever's on sale at the time. Now, the basmati is usually more expensive, but it's one of my favorites. And I usually buy the really big bag. I think it's a 25-pound bag from Sam's of just the long grain rice. I think it's $10, $9 or $10, which is a great value. And what I do for this is I vacuum seal these, okay? I vacuum seal these, and you can also use oxygen absorbers, okay? Now, I use these in some things. I don't use it in everything. If you vacuum seal it, technically you don't have to use an oxygen absorber, but some things I will throw it in. But for these, I vacuum seal these, and you can use the vacuum sealing attachment on your food saver, or there's handheld ones. We're having a storm outside right now, guys, so the power might go out. But this is how I vacuum seal. I have attachments that I bought, one from Walmart, one off Amazon, and then I have a food saver vacuum sealer, handheld, okay? And now this is an older model. They have some that are round that fit on top of the jar now, which I want to get, but I haven't. So I'm going to show you how I would vacuum seal it. First, you would clean your jars really good, dry them, make sure it is completely dry, no water at all. And then you would put your product inside. Don't touch inside the jars or anything. Put your product inside the jar and then have a lid. I use brand new lids for vacuum sealing. You can use older lids that have been used, but I don't want to take the risk of the seal popping. So I use brand new lids. And what you do is you put, so this is a wide mouth. You put it right over, and then this goes on top, and you would suck it out, okay? Suck all the air out. Usually I can hear the lid popping a couple of times, and I make sure that it is completely sealed. When you take it off, your lid should not come off. That means it's not sealed properly. And I do keep bands on these for the vacuum seal because I go around and I push down and I check to make sure the seal is still holding on for each of these jars. So this is how I vacuum seal my jars, and I know they're good. Now, one of the things about glass that people say is not good is that it's see-through. That is true. But I keep all, and light can affect your food that you store. So I agree with that. But I keep mine in a very dark cabinet that never gets opened. This is the most light it's seen since I've stuck them in there. But that is not an issue for me. You can throw a black blanket or something over it to block all the light out. That's not something that I worry about. And I also chose glass because nothing can chew through this. Now, glass can break easier, but I don't have them on any high shelves. They're literally on the floor in a cabinet that has nothing else around it. So for me, that's the best option for me, but nothing can chew through this. Rodents can chew through plastic. That's just how it is. So this is why I chose this, but if you chose, or you do choose to do 5-gallon buckets with the Mylar bags and the Gamma lids, more power to you. Now, you don't have to do the half gallons. If you have a bunch of jars, this is a quart jar, okay? So a quart jar, this has Great Northern white beans in it. This is a great option. You can do it in the smaller ones. I've even, these are peas that I have dehydrated. I have it, this was one bag, guys, one bag of peas. It's outrageous. But peas, food that you have dehydrated, that you can put in there that can last a long time, and all these have been vacuum sealed. So I know there's no air or anything getting into it. Now, I wrote a lot of this down because I'll forget, but really the enemy of long-term food storage, you have a lot of things that can be combined. So water or moisture, humidity, that does affect how your items store, rodents and bugs, oxygen and light and heat. Those are your enemies that you have to combat by how you store it, how well you vacuum seal it, whatever you do. Those are the enemies of long-term food storage. But also, I'm just going to give you just a really quick list before I get into it of things that I store. Doesn't mean you have to. Remember, again, every family's different. I do rice, beans, sugar, flour, powdered milk, corn, herbs, spices, pasta, honey, oats. That's just a basic makeup of the ones that go in my jars. That's not counting the ones for my canned goods. And if I also can myself, so I have a lot of food built up that way, but those, remember, those are rotated out. Like, for instance, my salsas or my diced tomatoes or my pineapple. I have videos on all those showing you how to can those. Those get rotated out, obviously, and we use those all the time. So those don't stay, those don't just sit, those will spoil and go bad. But those are in our normal food rotation. But that's just some of the things. Remember, you can do freeze-dried food or dehydrated food. A lot of people do dehydrated. I have some dehydrated food that works great. And now here's some foods that go bad easily. They're nuts, cornmeal, and barley. That's because they have higher fat, with mostly oils inside them that make them go rancid. So remember that when you are trying to prepare or make up your own food, long-term food storage. But like this is flour from almost 5 years ago. I would eat this flour and not be afraid to eat it, okay? Because I know that I stored it properly. Now, flour and rice are two things some of the two things that I put in the freezer. Now, hear me out. When I get these from the store, they go straight into the freezer for 10 days. 10 days, I don't touch it. I don't do anything to it. I leave it in there for 10 days straight because these two items can carry weevil eggs, okay? Because these are the two biggest culprit for weevil eggs. So I'm making sure those eggs are dead before I stick them in my jars or I store them however I'm storing. I put these in the freezer. Some of the freezer foods that you're supposed to put in the freezer are rice, pasta, flours, and grains. Those need to go in the freezer for at least a week to 10 days. I leave them in 10 days to know for sure that these have no eggs that are going to hatch and then eat all my food supply up. That is a big, big thing. So you need to make sure that you do that if you're going to be storing it like this. Now, some people dry can where they put it in these and then they put it in the oven and they heat it up to I think it's 200 degrees. And they leave it in there for so long and it kills the eggs. But the thing is, it's also cooking the food to a point that I don't want to do. I want my food to be at the most raw form that I can have, that I'm not cooking it. So the freezer is a great option instead of dry canning where you put it in the oven to kill the eggs and other things off. So that's a great option. Now, I also have multiple types of beans. I have pinto beans, black beans, which pinto and black you can find at Sam's, Costco, even the Dollar Tree. Walmart, you can find them for good deals, and you can. These two items are great to have on hand, which is rice and beans in an emergency situation, because food is food. That's all there is to it. There's no pickiness in an emergency situation. Food that will fill your bellies and give you some fuel. So I have the flour. I showed you the flour and the rice, multiple different types of beans. Now I want to show you sugar. So this is pure cane sugar, or you can do white sugar, whatever sugar you want to do. Sugar stays basically indefinitely. Now it will get hard, but you can just break it up. It's not a big deal. Sugar is great to have on hand. I personally like these bigger jars because it can store more. Sugar is a great one to have. Let's see what else I got. I have oats. And I always write on the top what these are. So these are old-fashioned oats. And sometimes if it has a lot of instruction or something that it's used for, I stick it on the side and I tape it to the side of the jar. So these are old-fashioned oats. Again, emergency situation, you can't be picky on your food. And I wouldn't be anyways. I have corn, yellow corn, that I have for my family. Let's see what else I got. Now this is instant dry milk. Now remember when I told you that anything that has high fat, high oils will go rancid. That's just how it is. It will go rancid and it will not keep as long. But this instant dry milk is fat-free. This is fat-free instant dry milk. And I put on the side how much the ratios were. See how I stuck the label on the side? I don't know if you can see it because it's so bright. but I stuck the label on the side and I taped it to the jar. Now, some of these, the instant dry milk and some of the flour, I put I don't know if you guys can see it, probably not. There is a cupcake liner in there, and I turned it upside down to help keep it down when I am sucking the air out of this, because sometimes when you do it, it will suck some of the granulates and stuff out, and then your seal won't seal properly. So I put a cupcake liner in there. Let's see what else I got. This one and this one. Salt. Okay, salt is good for a lot of things, not just for your food, but also for healing, for your body, cuts, scrapes, stuff like that. It can be used for multiple purpose. Now, I just put these in to add to my storage. I haven't vacuum sealed them yet. See, they're not vacuum sealed yet. Once they are, I'll write on what they are. So this right here is just regular iodized salt, okay? This one is kosher salt, and this is bigger. This is a bigger grain, this is smaller. Salt is a great one to put inside your food arsenal. Now, I had a bunch of leftover that I couldn't fit in these ones, so I just made a mixed bean. And each time, the mixed bean will go inside this one when I have too much and I can't fit it in the jars anymore. So this is a really good overview of what you can put in jars that you can store. Remember, it's not a comprehensive list of stuff. It's just basic things that you can use to make food, okay? Flour, you can make bread with the salt and the sugar, beans, rice, foods that will fill you up in an emergency situation. Now, I did tell you things like nuts and high fat, high oil foods, they go rancid. They will not stay. I've seen preppers or even YouTube stars store a ton of high fat foods. They will go bad. And they're like, well, I'll just eat rancid food. That makes 0 sense for you to get sick off of rancid food when you could have stored something else that wouldn't make you sick. So be careful when you're storing them. I'm going to grab this real quick. I'm going to show you. So these are walnuts. I am not going to keep these in there forever, okay? I'm going to use these up. These will go bad and go rancid because of the oil content inside them. I do vacuum seal them because I vacuum seal everything when they go in these jars just to keep them fresher longer. And this one actually has an oxygen absorber in it. So I wanted to try my best not to let anything get inside there to make it go rancid faster. Let's see. So salt, I have red pepper flakes. This is just another spice that I just had a bunch of that I bought, and I vacuum sealed it, and I've been using it to dump into my little one in the kitchen. Tastes the same. It really is worth it to go through and put them in jars and vacuum seal them, and they stay fresh a lot longer, trust me. Okay, I have some more food items I'm going to show you, but first I wanted to show you this. This is sea salt, coarse sea salt, that is in a plastic container. Now, this I will not dump out. I will leave it in its container because it's sealed at the top. This will stay good like the other ones for basically forever. It will clump and you'll have to break it up. But when this one is sealed better than this one, in a cardboard one, I dump these into the jars. But this one I will leave alone in my long-term food storage. So I wanted to show the difference in that. Now I have honey. I think a lot of people leave honey out, which they shouldn't, because honey is a great superfood. It's also a sweetener, and you can use honey for a lot of things, cuts and stuff like that. Also, not just sugar, not just salt, you can use honey. So this is the honey that I showed you in my other video that I buy because I get the canning jar afterwards. This is the local honey, and you can tell the difference between these two because this one is crystallizing and this one is not. But that doesn't mean that crystallized honey is bad. Crystallized honey you are able to use. You can still use crystallized honey. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just because honey has a lower water content and a higher sugar content, when it evaporates, it starts to turn to, the water starts to evaporate, these turn to crystals, okay? So basically that's what this is doing. There are ways to reverse this, but I'll just end up using this jar and buy another one to replace it. It's not a big deal. So honey is a great thing to have in your food arsenal for multiple purposes. And it has a good amount of calories in it. So whatever you do for your family, make sure that you have enough for your family. So I always buy one of those every time my husband gets paid. I always buy at least one, sometimes two jars of honey, and we rotate through it. Now, the only things we don't rotate through in our family are these. Anything that is for the extreme long-term food storage, I do not rotate through these. I don't use those. Those just stay downstairs in the dark cabinet, and I never touch them. But regular canned food, I rotate through, okay? So every single time, have a system for your family. Every single time I buy new food, I have them either in rows or in a certain area. I always put it to the back and push it up, the older stuff to the front. I always have a certain amount of jars of everything too, so that I know if something happened, I could feed my family. So rotate your jars forward. It's not hard. It just takes a couple seconds when you bring your new groceries back, or your new jars, or whatever it is you got. So canned food. Canned food is another thing. I don't think you should just have one thing. I don't think you should just have one type of long-term food storage. I think that canned food is great. Also, my jars I think are great. If you do the Mylar bags, that's great. However you want to say food. If you have the freeze-dried food that you can buy in bulk for a certain amount of people for a certain amount of time, that's great too. If you are able to afford that, but not everybody can afford that for their family, especially if they have bigger families. But what you can do is every time you go to the grocery store, buy 5 cans of something you know your family will eat. So, and make sure that you have a diverse thing. Don't just buy all green beans unless you really like green beans. If you know that your family will eat tuna, buy 4 or 5 of these. This one wasn't too badly priced. I think it was $3 or something for this 4-pack. That's not bad. You can do that for your family. I bought a huge pack of Spam from Sam's, and we have slowly been working our way through that, but when I get down to a certain point, I will buy another one because I replenish it to make sure I have enough for my family. Chicken stock, beef broth, pumpkin. Now remember, like I said, everything has an expiration date. That's because the companies have to put an expiration date on it. But these stay good way longer than what it says on the expiration date, okay? And you can use them. I've used canned food way past its expiration date, and they're just fine, okay? Another thing to have, which you can see these have been used, I've been using them for my vanilla extract, which I'm going to have to replenish these. Alcohol. Alcohol is a good thing to have in your food supply. You can use it for also healing purposes, also to disinfect things, and to put in your food also. So alcohol is a good one that you want to have in your food supply. Pastas. I have a lot of pastas, and I keep all of my pastas that are in these boxes in plastic bins that I get from Walmart, the bigger ones, and I will rotate them out. When I buy new pasta, I'll pull everything to the front or rearrange it and then put the other ones in the back. Pasta you can throw in the freezer too if you're worried about the weevil eggs, because it is part of the freezer foods that you would need to kill off the weevil eggs. But most people don't find that necessary. They leave them in the boxes or put them in a huge jar and then vacuum seal them. But you can throw these in the freezer for the 10 days. Now, I have seen multiple people showing off their food, emergency food supplies and everything, have a ton of peanut butter, and I mean a ton, not just a little bit. This does not store for a really long time. It will go rancid. It has a lot of oil and fat in it. That's why it is high calorie, okay? You do not want to stockpile these. Like this one, I've only had for a couple months, and it, like 1 year is how long this will, before it goes bad. And sometimes you can use it, you can check it after its expiration date and it's still not rancid, but when you can tell when something's rancid, it smells terrible. You don't want to eat that. Like I said earlier, you don't want to store a bunch of stuff that you cannot eat for your family that's rancid. You'll have to throw it away or get really sick, and it's not worth it. But I do keep a couple of these on hand to rotate out for my family, and I do rotate them out so I don't waste food. And that's one of the big things that a lot of people, when they stockpile, and they show you their huge stockpile of food and they have like 30 peanut butters, most time people only take the front, and if they buy more to restock it, they put it in the front. Rotate your food out. That's just how it is. You don't want to be left with a bunch of food that goes rancid. And I forgot to show you this, like this is salmon. If you want to do some type of protein, I showed you the tuna, there's chunk chicken that is canned. Those are great proteins and stuff that you can have on hand. Remember, they can stay good a really long time as long as the seal's not busted. Even sometimes you can buy at grocery outlet stores and stuff cans on a good deal. So every time you go out, trust me, it's not hard. When you're buying your food, buy 5 extra cans every single time you buy food. Put them aside. Put them aside. Have canned goods. Have some alcohol on hand. Have some honey. Okay? Basic things that you can make things out of. Okay? And now I showed you the 2 different types of salt. I have the kosher salt, and then I have the iodized salt. This is necessary. If your body gets too low on this nutrient, it really does some wonky stuff to your body, trust me. So I have both. This is not bad. Everybody wants to demonize the iodized salt. It's good in moderation. Everything is good in moderation as long as you don't abuse it. But have a long-term emergency food supply that you keep adding to. I usually try to add to it every now and then just so I have a good stock. And then I go around, I push these to make sure that they've not popped, okay? And if they do, I reseal them because I check them regularly. So even if it did pop, I could fix it and reseal it. I can clean the seal, take off the lid, clean the rim, clean the lid, and then put it back on there and vacuum seal it back. Have this for your family. Have stock of this that you rotate out in your normal food supply, which that is us. That's what I do. I rotate it out. I rotate out my honey. I rotate out all my all my canned food. This is the only thing I do not rotate out. Okay? You need to have all of this. Now I'm going to go over 2 more things. I'm going to go over a water supply, and then one thing that I think a lot of people leave out of their food supply that is important if something happened and there was no grocery stores for a certain amount of time. Okay, so I consider this part of the food because it's something we consume. Water, we all need water to live. So I put this in the food category. Now, water is really important because you can drink water, the rainwater, other stuff from a creek, but most of the time it is contaminated and you need a way to filter your water. There's lots of different ways. I've seen a lot of people build water filters from multiple things, even using nature to filter it. So you need to have a source or somehow or some way to filter your water. Now I have one system that we just use because the water around here is not good. I have 2 systems in my house that I use to filter water, but I also have a water source close to my house. If I needed to get water, I could. But I also keep water like this, a couple of packs of these. I think they come in a 6-pack, this one does, in my garage, and I also have bottled water, but that gets rotated out for drinking and when we go on trips, stuff like that. The main source is not bottled water. Bottled water is not gonna save you if you stock up a ton. You need to have something. Now, like for this system, I have extra filters for this already. My other system, I have extra filters for it. You need to have in place extra filters. Whenever you can buy an extra filter, just buy one and put it up, okay? You need to have something to be able to filter your water. And you can also boil water and then filter it through something for it to be safe to drink. And I understand that. There's lots of different ways to make water, like wherever you're getting it, whatever water source you're getting it from, safe to drink. But for me and my family, I have two different water systems, and I have a water source close by, and I also have backup like this in case something happens where I run out or I need to use this as my main water source and then filter out water. So water is a big thing. You need to have something on hand, some type of system to filter water, or know how to build something, because a lot of people are very savvy in that way to filter your water. And there's tons of YouTube videos on that. I would encourage you to check that out because that's a life skill, not just for me or for you, it's for everybody. This is the one that a lot of people leave out. I feel like a lot of people leave out of their food supply because you can't just, there's no more grocery stores or something happens, how are you going to get food? Okay, you have to be able to grow it. So I know this is controversial to a lot of people because, seeds, not everybody can grow. Well, that's how we get our food, is from farmers. I'm sorry. We have to be able to grow. Now, I have a seed supply. Like you can see, I just bought some more seeds to replace the ones that I've been using. These are all seeds, and I have them labeled of what they are, and I have them all in different sections. So I have even flower seeds. Flower seeds are important, especially if you're growing food. They bring pollinators to your garden or whatever you're growing. It's important. A lot of people leave that out, and I don't understand why. So like this one. These are all my onion seeds, okay? And I leave them in the packets, and I've showed you guys this before, but I'll show you again. Let's find one. I leave them in their original packaging because they have all the information on the back, okay? All the information that you need is on the back, but I put them in little plastic baggies to keep them from water damage, and other things. This is important for your family to have. I think that seeds, when your food runs out, you're gonna need some other type of food source, and seeds are great because you can grow your own food. Even in basic soil, you could grow food. But let's see what we got here. Look at this. These are my tomatoes, okay? You can see where I've saved the seeds every single year for my tomatoes. And I'll use the oldest seeds first and work my way forward, because the oldest seeds can stay good for a really, really long time as long as you keep them in a good environment. A cool, dry environment that's dark, just like the other jars. These need to be kept in the same thing, and these are kept downstairs in my cool dark cabinet also. But seeds are very important for growing your own food, especially if food ever ran out for any particular reason. If something happened, we never know what the future brings, but we can be prepared. That it's not hard to be prepared. It's not hard to buy a couple jars for your family. It's not hard to, hey, you can even find jars at garage sales, estate sales, anything. You can find jars, bring them home, wash them, put something in them for your family that you know that you can eat. Now, if people have allergies, like my nephew has allergies, you need to specifically cater that to that person, okay? And that's a different story. But for the most people that don't have severe allergies, you can eat most of these things. And now, the last thing that for a food security and long-term storage is not something that you're actually going to store. It's a life skill. You need to know how to raise whatever it is, chickens for eggs. People do goats and pigs and other things. If you're able to do that and you're not in the city or places where they restrict that, that is a good life skill. Even if you do live in the city, you can take classes on how to do stuff, how to process chickens or whatever it is you want to process. There are classes that you can take for that. Hunting is a great life skill, and I'm thankful to my dad. Hi, Dad, I love you. That he taught me how to hunt when I was younger, okay? It is a good life skill. It's not something that's something to take care of yourself and your family, and you need to have the means to be able to hunt the animals or be able to process or raise chickens for eggs and then later on for meat. You need to know how to do these things. They're very important, especially in the days we live in. Food security, that's not a thing anymore. If you get anything from this video, it is to prepare for your family. I'm not telling you to be afraid and be panicked all the time, but you can be prepared. It's being responsible. It's not being scared. You're being responsible when you prepare for your family, when you set things aside just in case something happened. There's nothing wrong with that. That is being an adult, being prepared for your family, and I'll trust the Lord for the rest. So I hope you guys got some stuff out of this video. Remember, there's basic stuff. There's different ways to store it. Look it up. See what's best for you. You don't have to do exactly like I did. You don't have to use the glass jars if you don't think that's the best way for you. If you think the best way is the 5-gallon buckets and the Gamma lids with Mylar bags, whatever it is, do it for your family. Take some initiative to prepare just in case. A lot of people were not prepared when 2020 hit, okay? When we were all relegated to our homes and we weren't allowed to do anything or leave, but I was prepared. Other people that I know are prepared. You need to take a step for your family, for their food safety, for everything, just for short term, even if it's not really, really long term. Get something in your house, have a food supply, because a lot of people have told me before, oh, well, I'm just going to come to your house. And no, you won't come to my house. I won't be feeding your family. I'm going to be feeding my family and taking care of them like I'm supposed to because I planned ahead. You guys need to do the same thing for your family. If you're able to, start out small, buy some canned food, whatever you can do at the time. And there's lots of different discount stores. You don't have to go big and spend a ton of money. You can start out small and build up your stash of food. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Go out and prep, not extreme prepper, but prep. And I'll see you guys next time.